Confronting Domestic Violence is a 501c3. All contributions, volunteers, and sponsorships are welcomed. It takes a community to make a difference. Nobody should suffer alone. Please scan the QR code.
Hi everyone, my name is Gauri. I'm currently a rising senior in high school in the Seattle area in Washington, and I'm so excited to be a part of this event. We've been working with CTV for the past couple of months, and we're so excited to speak with you about our experiences working in this field.
My name's Ananya, and I'm also from the Seattle area. I'm also going to be a senior next year in high school, and working with CDV has been an incredible experience, and Agape has been a wonderful mentor for us through this entire process, and we're really excited to share some of the work we've done with you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so as a Ananya and I recently created an app called SafeSpace that essentially provides resources for survivors of teen dating violence or domestic violence to receive the necessary supportive resources that they need to heal and recover, especially in a more private and confidential manner. So just a little bit of inspiration of what got us started in this field. So I was a part of my school fall play back in 2021. And during dress rehearsals, like 2 or 3 days before opening night, one of my castmates was a victim of sexual assault by another castmate during dress rehearsals. And this incident was very shocking to me, my cast member, and of course the entire ensemble, because for me, it was the first time I ever confronted anything pertaining to sexual assault, especially in a school, which was really shocking to me because I always assumed that schools were meant to be a safe space for students. But seeing all of this occur really made me reconsider my values. And this incident led to a series of student-led protests within our high school, as well as various other high schools, regarding the lack of transparency of schools regarding these sexual assault policies. And through these protests, Ananya and I noticed how this wasn't just a single incident of my castmate going through this in schools, but several of our own classmates and peers were also going through this very issue, but you just didn't know about it because everyone was just so afraid to speak up and ask schools for help because they were afraid of the stigma and shame associated with it if they were to ask school counselors or if they were to ask their classmates about such issues. Therefore, me and Annie decided to use our experiences with app development and marketing to create SafeSpace. So next slide.
Yeah, so a bit more context. Right after these protests took place, our school brought in a specialist who was from a local organization against domestic violence that especially worked with teens called LifeWire. And by communicating with her, we were able to do more research into the issue. And some things we found out were incredibly shocking. So we found out that females aged 16 to 19, so essentially teenagers our age, are 4 times more likely than the general population to be victims of rape, attempted rape, or sexual assault. And children who are victims of sexual abuse are 4 times more likely to develop symptoms of drug abuse and experience PTSD as adults. So this isn't just a one-time thing, something that happens to you in high school and if people aren't able to react appropriately, if your trusted adults like your teachers, your parents, your friends, if they aren't able to help you in the right ways and at the right time, these ramifications will impact you in ways that will last your entire adulthood. And while children are still teenagers, your brain is undergoing a huge change. It's completely rewriting itself, it's maturing, it's learning how the world works. If you're not surrounded by people who you can trust, especially if you're a victim at a young age, it has terrible repercussions through your entire life. And as Gauri mentioned, there was a lot of social stigma that kept people from speaking out, especially before these protests happened. During the protests, we were overwhelmed by a lot of people stepping forward anonymously to share their stories. But before that, nobody even considered that these things would even happen. And a lot of it tend to be swept under the rug because of stigma, because of fear, because of all the ideas that we've grown up with since we were young. So this is what inspired us to make our solution, SafeSpace. Next slide, please.
As we mentioned, we both collaborate together to create SafeSpace, which, as I mentioned, was an app that provides resources for survivors of teen dating violence and teen domestic violence. What kind of differentiates our apps from other such resources already out there is that, as Ananya mentioned, the main issue is the shame and stigma associated with it. We try to combat it by adding some more privacy and confidential features. So once you log onto the app, you won't actually get to the actual app with all the resources, but rather you'll get to like a space game or other games, so that whenever anyone first logs onto the app, no one's very suspicious about the intent of the app. But once you hit a series of different buttons or pre-codes on the app, then you get to the actual homepage where then you can access all these resources. And this privacy feature that we added helps ensure our users and teenagers especially that no one's really like suspicious of the true intention of the app. No one's really stalking them or gonna keep track of their activity on the app, because again, no one can really tell what the purpose of the app is. And then once the user gets to the actual app, they can access a wide variety of resources from local, statewide, and even national organizations. We have the ability to contact a professional, various mental health screens, and of course, an emergency feature if a user ever does find themselves in an unsafe situation and seeks immediate help. Next slide, please.
So we've been working on this project for quite some time, and our app has gone through a few versions. So right now we're in a pre-production stage. We're working with a nonprofit called Opportunity Hack. So it consists of professional developers from companies who volunteer their time to build products like websites and apps for nonprofits. And we're working with them to try and make our app more professional, more furnished, more safe for users to use. And that's on the technical side. But along with SafeSpace, we do a lot of advocacy work, which is what brought us in contact with confronting domestic violence and nonprofits in that vein in the first place. So we're going to start a partnership with the Washington State Coalition Against Domestic Violence to recruit teens and create a teen youth council so that we can focus on things like lobbying schools and cities and different state legislatures to try and improve policies to protect students, especially in schools, because like when the protests happened, there was a huge issue, and this app, it just cures the symptoms. But if we're able to get to the root cause of it, if we're able to help surround people with safe adults and systems, it would be far more effective.
Thank you so much for listening, and we really would love all of your guys' feedback regarding our apps. As Ananya mentioned, we have both a technological aspect as well as a more advocacy aspect, and we would welcome any and all help from any volunteers who would just be interested in testing out our app or giving us any sort of feedback or any other things that you think should be necessary in an app like this. So in the chat, someone asked, is there a link to an app? So currently, we're still in the process of working with some developers in our area to fully furnish it. We have a prototype version, but fully not launched yet. But we do have an email and a website. So we'll go ahead and send that in the chat.
Confronting Domestic Violence is a 501c3. All contributions, volunteers, and sponsorships are welcomed. It takes a community to make a difference. Nobody should suffer alone. Please scan the QR code.